Welcome to the 6th grade English Language Arts Unit 1 preview. My name is Lauren Kelso. I am the content teacher leader for 6th grade ELAR. Before we dive into our unit, I'd like to give you some information about me. This is me. I received a bachelor's in journalism, a bachelor's in English. I went on to get my master's in education. I've taught 6th grade in Little Rock, Arkansas for 4 years before moving to Texas and joining Uplift Education. I previously worked at Williams Preparatory as the 6th grade ELAR teacher for 3 years. I am going on my 4th year as content teacher leader at Uplift Education. And next year I will be teaching 9th and 10th grade at Summit Preparatory. So that's enough about me. Let's get into our unit preview. This unit is titled Introduction to Nonfiction. In this unit, we will establish the foundations for reading nonfiction. So our overview. Our statement of inquiry is shared experiences create better relationships. We will be analyzing relationships in society through our reading. I picked this statement of inquiry because I feel it is versatile. Teachers can draw in text in the current news cycle. They can bring scholars more in touch with social media awareness, and they can push scholars to analyze their own relationships with friends and family. Let's get into our text preview. 3 major texts that I have referenced in creating this unit plan is the novel Kids Like Me, Voices of the Immigrant Experience. I have looked up news ELA articles, and I have used the Holt textbook. Kids Like Me is an essay collection written about the immigrant experience. News ELA articles, I've selected the texts from News ELA that fit into this unit. However, News ELA is a great text resource for you to explore, and I highly recommend you getting on there and just exploring the articles and resources on that website. And the Holt textbook, not only does the Holt textbook have text to explore, but it also has a great questioning resource. It can help you with wording of skills questioning and scaffolding for differentiation. I highly recommend going through and looking at these resources closely. So let's get a little more in depth in our unit plan. The unit plan is broken up into 3 stages. We're going to go through each one and unpack them. So stage 1 is the statement of inquiry. The statement of inquiry is the unit's cornerstone, and we will be answering questions like, how do people interact based on different backgrounds? Is it productive to society? Can it be improved in any way? Very important that we come back to the statement of inquiry frequently during the unit so scholars can make connections. Also in stage 1 is our inquiry questions. There are 3 types of inquiry question: factual, conceptual, and debatable. We use inquiry questions in lesson plans. Use factual questions early in the unit or early in your lesson. Use conceptual questions to build on factual questions, and use debatable questions at the end of a lesson after analysis. You can introduce debatable questions at the beginning of the lesson so scholars can contemplate them throughout the lesson. Debatable lessons can be used as essential questions in this way, but be sure that you are using your factual and conceptual questions to drive your debatable questions. It is important to see how all 3, factual, conceptual, and debatable, are connected. So for instance, a conceptual question how opinions are formed, connects to the factual question, what is the author's purpose for writing? In order to understand an author's opinion, scholars first need to understand why the author is writing. So it's important that we know the factual and then step into the conceptual. Another example would be the conceptual question, how do we use facts and or details to support opinions? This connects with what is a main idea, what is a supporting detail, and what is textual evidence. Scholars need to understand what a main idea is, what a supporting detail is, and what textual evidence is in order to support their own opinions and evaluate others, which would be conceptual. So just make sure that we're working with all three sets of questions and not leaving any out. And last in stage 1 is the TEKS and the knowledge and skills we want scholars to learn. I have put the TEK numbers here for reading, writing, and grammar. You can refer to the one-pager to cross-reference. This unit largely focuses on figure 19D, right here. Figure 19D is giving evidence and author's purpose, so it is heavily assessed on the star. It requires that scholars, when answering the question, also make a reference. For example, a question that asks about organizational structure will not only ask what type of structure is used, it will also ask the reader why the author chose that organizational structure in their writing. So it's asking the scholar to do 2 skills, and so it's a loaded TEK that we will really be breaking down for scholars throughout the school year. And it's great to start early, and that's why we're starting in Unit 1. Let's move on to Stage 2, which is assessment. Our assessment for Unit 1 will be an expository essay. It will be graded based on an MYP rubric, the writing rubric. And it also will involve an oral presentation. The scholars will have to create a visual representation of their expository essay, but they will get to choose how they would like to visually represent that, whether that be through a mosaic or through a PowerPoint or some other creative expression. And what we're doing here in the assessment is really establishing the building blocks for the personal project that these scholars will have to produce in the future, 9th grade. It's really important that we set the groundwork for writing an excellent expository essay and being able to communicate those ideas to an audience. And that provides us a great transition to Stage 3 with our approaches to learning and learning strategies. We will really be focusing on communication and organizational skills in our approaches to learning. Communication and organizational ATLs are important for establishing good habits in 6th grade and moving forward in their educational careers. We want scholars to be able to discuss, not just share with their peers and teachers, mindful, appropriate, and organized ideas. We also want them to be able to put these ideas in writing that is structured in a way to make it academically appropriate. We will also be using learning experiences and teaching strategies to promote comprehension and analysis of text. So close reading, discussion, annotation, accountable talk, and conferencing are all very much working towards making sure scholars are comprehending and analyzing texts in order to form opinions and create writing. Also in Stage 3, we have differentiation and formative assessment. Unit 1 is a fact-finding mission. As you get to know your scholars, you will be better able to differentiate instruction based on their needs. Formative assessments will play a key role in finding out what each scholar needs. So we intend to meet each scholar where they are and push them to grow. Providing effective, appropriate, and timely feedback through formative assessment to scholars will help both teacher and scholar figure out how to achieve academic goals. And finally, in stage 3, we have our backward planning section. The objectives I've created are directly aligned to STAR. The summative assessment, the expository essay that was mentioned, and the visual representation in stage 2 is also built into this calendar for you. I have assigned articles for each lesson. I chose these articles because I felt they aligned to the statement of inquiry in some way, and also allowed scholars to implement grade-appropriate skills during analysis. I frequently visit Newsela because it has a great selection of timely and engaging material that can be lexiled to an appropriate grade level, so scholars can access it more readily. So I'm able to take something of interest to them and make sure that it's easily read by them. It's on their level, it's not too high and it's not too low. It's a really great way or a really great and easy way to make sure that you're giving them information that they feel comfortable with. And that concludes our preview. Please feel free to contact me. You have my information, and I will be planning Unit 2.